Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are covering some recent reactions and reviews coming from the premiere of a recent movie or show. Obviously this, reading by the title, is a show. It's The Last of Us Season 2. I mean, we, and I'm sure, you know, many people across the world are just so excited for this. I thought the first season was amazing. I actually have reactions up to the first season on the channel if you want to watch that. But yeah, this is obviously picking up and adapting the games. If you aren't aware, this is a video game adaptation and it's quite faithful, so I'm really curious to see what these reactions are like and what they're gonna be like. But yeah, before we get into it, if you do like this type of content, please do us a favor, like the video, subscribe, click that bell, all of that. It's completely free and it helps us out a ton. We would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, the second game, for those who don't know, does some pretty, you know, interesting things. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but there's a lot of stakes. It goes a different direction. Its structure and storytelling is also different, and I'm very curious how people receive this season, if they're really staying faithful the way they did with the first season. Obviously, they built upon certain characters, such as giving Bill and Frank their own episode. I thought that was amazing, and it seems like every change they're making is an actual improvement, which is always great to see. But yeah, I'm curious to see. I'm pretty sure season 2 and 3 are going to be part 2 of the game, kind of split up, and I am very interested to see how that exactly plays out. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get straight into these reactions. The first one coming from Matt Rorabeck, saying season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us is a perfect adaptation. Amazing performances, especially Bella Ramsey. Great and scary action sequences, smart additions, rich character work, and strong newcomers. It somehow surpasses sky-high expectations. I adored it. That being our first one is amazing. So glad to hear that it met the expectation and even surpassed it. And yeah, I wonder what most people's expectations are with this. The first season was so phenomenal, but I'm so fascinated in people that aren't familiar with the games and how they will kind of take in this part of the story, I should say. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to this next one, coming from Justin Lawrence, saying The Last of Us Season 2 is a stunning, emotionally charged continuation, faithful to the game while expanding its story in bold new ways. New characters deepen, raise the stakes. The visuals are breathtaking and every moment feels earned. This is appointment television at its finest. That's another thing. If they do go the route of the second game, which obviously, judging by these first two reactions, they seem to be very faithful with, you know, this can get a lot darker than people expect and a lot heavier. And I wonder how that will work on a week-to-week kind of release, because a lot of these people binged it, and I wonder how that affected them. But yeah, they were extremely positive on it as well. Love to hear it. But this next one we have comes from Darren Mooney, saying, apparently we can talk about The Last of Us Season 2. Really enjoyed it. A beautiful, poetic drama about the things that take root when we bury our secrets. A great cast and a thoughtful perspective. Suffers slightly from the Squid Game issue where it feels like half a season. Now, I did preface that earlier. It seems like they split part 2 of the game into like chunks to give us like 2 more seasons, and I think there's 2 reasons to do that. One, the show is so popular they don't want to just give it 2 seasons and end it. And 2, I think they want to keep Pedro Pascal in the zeitgeist as much as possible. That's all I'll say. And yeah, I'm very interested in how the structure of this season will be, because in the video game the perspectives really shift, and I think that's what makes it such a refreshing and bold new like sequel. And maybe this does the exact same thing. But yeah, I'm so fascinated in how they're going to adapt that particular sequel because it's told so structurally different. But let's go ahead and move on to this next one, coming from 𝙎𝙐𝙚𝙚𝙚 saying, I've seen all 7 episodes of The Last of Us Season 2 and wow, buckle up. This season is bigger, scarier, and way more emotional than Season 1. The characters are explored deeper and the new additions are excellent. I was riveted, devastated, and on the edge of my seat. Love to hear that, and I'm really liking the expressiveness from all these reactions so far on how the show really keeps its quality and kind of depth even with newcomers. And I think that's something the game did so well, and since judging from these reactions, it seems to be very faithful once again. I'm glad that isn't going away, and them expressing that it was more emotional than Season 1 is pretty hefty. I thought Season 1 had some huge emotional and devastating moments, and particularly that Bill and Frank episode like crushed me. And I'm curious to see why that is, what's making it so much more emotional. Obviously, if you've played the games, you can probably guess, but judging from how this is apparently kind of splitting that second game, I wonder what exactly is the through line and the gut punches that they're pulling. We're gonna go ahead and move on. This next one coming from Adam saying, The Last of Us Season 2 effectively builds on what was already one of the greatest adaptations ever. I laughed, I cried a lot, I smiled, and I was terrified. This show is a gift to The Last of Us fans. Pascal, Merced, and Luna are treasures. It's faithful, authentic, and fresh. Love to hear that. Obviously, them giving the credit to some of the cast and once again expressing how emotional it is. Man, I cannot wait. This next one coming from Nate Plays Game saying, The Last of Us Season 2 adds so much to this incredible story. Like the game, it challenges views on justice, empathy, revenge, and forgiveness. Pedro and Bella give career best performances, while Isabella, young Caitlin, Jeffrey, and Canadian Queen Catherine O'Hara are perfect additions. Man, I mean, pretty much almost all these reactions have been saying that these newcomers and additions are phenomenal, and that's so great to hear. That's something a lot of seasons of television struggle with, is when introducing new characters, they tend to be not nearly as compelling as the original characters that you were first introduced with. And I'm so glad that the show is keeping that level of not only just character work and depth, but just that level of consistency. But the next one we have comes from One Take News saying, The Last of Us Season 2 is an absolute masterclass from Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann on adapting a video game yet again. Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, and especially Isabella Merced carry this season on their back with show-stopping, Emmy-worthy performances that will make you eager for more all season long. So many incredible guest stars elevate the writing and directing too. From top to bottom, this is another major win for HBO. I mean, HBO is just quality, and that first season was quality and arguably the best video game adaptation. I'm pretty sure like most of us would say, yeah, it's pretty clear. I think the recent like Fallout and Arcane gives it some run for its money, even like Cyberpunk Edge Runners. But in terms of just like prestige television, The Last of Us is like on another level, and I'm glad that it's staying there. This next one coming from Eamon Jacobs says, The Last of Us Season 2, wow, what a beautifully written season of TV. It delivers an emotionally devastating story of trauma and revenge with astounding elegance. That's without mentioning Bella Ramsey's powerfully raw performance and pulse-pounding action. That's another thing I want to bring up. A lot of these people are expressing that this season, gives us a bit more of that action, gives us a bit more of the conflict, the zombie stuff, and or the clickers, whatever you want to call them. But that's very exciting to hear. Love to hear that. And another person giving Bella Ramsey her flowers. We're going to cover this last bunch coming from the three people over at the Movie Podcast. Great channel. They do interviews and movie coverage and stuff like that. So if you like that, please consider checking them out. But this first one comes from Anthony saying, The Last of Us Season 2 is a heart-pounding triumph that shatters all expectations. Amazing continues to deliver and surprise with masterful storytelling. Bella Ramsey and Isabella Merced both drive raw emotional performances, while Pedro Pascal is magnificent, a masterpiece of a season. A lot of those words, masterpiece, phenomenal, amazing, and some people throw those words around pretty lightly and some people don't, and hearing it this much only instills confidence in me and is very, very exciting. But this next one coming from Shabazz says, The Last of Us Season 2 continues to be one of the most gripping and cinematic video game adaptations ever made. As a longtime fan of the game, I'm impressed by the bold, narratively cohesive choices this season makes. The added elements elevate the intensity and emotional stakes. Wow, I mean, I love to hear that, but I want to piggyback on that first line that he said about it being one of the most gripping and cinematic video game adaptations ever made. And I think that's what makes this series so successful, is when you look at the game, there are certain video games that have almost no narrative, such as, the Super Mario Brothers adaptations, and it's like they're adapting an IP. And then there's certain games that are strong but are known for their storytelling, such as the Uncharted games, Assassin's Creed. And then there are the games that are cinematic. And I think The Last of Us is one of those games, stuff like that, even God of War. I think there are just games that are meant to be adapted, whether you like that idea or not. And The Last of Us is one of those. And I do think that's a part of why the success of this show happened, and why it really translated to the screen, a lot easier than most of these video game adaptations. This last one, though, comes from Daniel Baptista saying, The Last of Us Season 2 was a groundbreaking and masterful adaptation of one of the greatest video games ever made. Bella Ramsey, Pedro Pascal, and the new cast embody and expand upon everything that makes The Last of Us world so special. It's terrifying, it's heart-wrenching, and a must-watch. And I will watch it indeed. You guys tell me in the comments below, how excited are you for The Last of Us Part 2? And also, what did you think about all of these reactions? Does it instill confidence in you? Are you kind of hesitant? Anything? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I love discussing with you guys. And yeah, I cannot wait for this. It drops very soon, I think this Sunday. And I am so ready to dive back into this world. But if you made it this far and you haven't, please do us a favor and consider liking the video, subscribing, and clicking that bell. It's completely free, and we would greatly appreciate it. But other than that, it's been your boy 𝙎𝙬𝙚, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.